Hello and good evening from me, Lee Anthony Davis, recording live from my YouTube channel. Tonight it's Hammer Horror Quiz Night featuring the Scars of Dracula. But before we start, I've got a few shout outs and announcements to make Firstly, two of my members were celebrating their birthdays today, so happy birthday to Jericho Faru and Renda Carr. My Doctor Who Classics group has now reached over 100 members, so thank you all for joining. I appreciate it very much. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. Hyde for having me on as his guest on his YouTube channel for the second part of the Nightmare Fair featuring Universal Horror. A great topic and a great discussion as we looked in depth at Universal Horror itself. And I will be back to join Mr. Hyde for the third part of the Nightmare Fair, which will be about Hammer Horror, which will be happening sometime in October, I believe. So anyway, details to follow in the coming weeks ahead. Talking about Hammer Horror, yes, it's time for the quiz featuring the Scars of Dracula. This is how it works. I will read out the questions and then I will give out the answers when I read the questions out again. So, grab yourself a pen and paper, and also for a bit of fun, give yourself a point for everyone you get right, and of course, a minus point for everyone you get wrong. No, before you ask, I won't be singing tonight, so you won't need to reach for the aspirins. So, not until tomorrow night when I will return to form again. It hasn't been taken out of the quiz completely, I can assure you. Never mind, I'm sure you'll be ready for it. Right, shall we begin then? So let's play the quiz featuring the Scars of Dracula. Right, question 1. Here we go. A nice easy one for you, actually. What year was the film released? What year was the film released? Was it A, 1969? Was it B, 1970? Or was it C, 1971? The answer will be revealed when I reveal the questions again. So you just have to wait a little bit longer for that. So it's either one of those three, 1969, 1970 or 1971. Question 2. You'll have to forgive the motorbike outside. It's an idiot goes past every 20 minutes. He tries to speed himself along. I was tempted to put a baseball bat to him, but obviously every time you go near him, he starts speeding off again. So I'll catch him one day, I'm telling you, if he's still out hanging around here, because it's nothing's worse than having something like that buzzing round your bloody eardrums, like my singing to your eardrums. Never mind, so I will get him. Right, question 2. Who directed the film? Was it A, Terence Fisher? Was it B, Roy Wood Baker? Or was it C, Anthony Nelson Keyes? I repeat that again. Who directed the film? Was it A, Terence Fisher? Was it B, Roy Wood Baker? Or was it C, Anthony Nelson Keyes? Right, moving on to question 3. In the film, Dennis Waterman appeared with another actor who also appeared with him in an episode of Minder called High Drains Pilferer. What was the name of the actor called? Was it A, Patrick Troughton? Was it B, Michael Ripper? Or was it C, Christopher Matthews? Moving on to question 4. When the film was released, it was in a double feature with another film, another Hammer, that is. What was that other film? Was it A, The Vampire Lovers? Was it B, The Horror of Frankenstein? Or was it C, The Hands of the Ripper? Right, question 5. When this film was made, how many Dracula films for Hammer had been made so far, including this one? Was it A, 5? Was it B, 7? Or was it C, 9? Question 6. Which actress who appeared in this film went on to appear as a presenter for ITV's children's show called Magpie? Was it A, Veronica Carlson? Was it B, Jenny Hanley? Or was it C, Susan Stranks? Question 7. Which actor contributed to the Hammer films more than any other actor in the whole Hammer franchise? Was it A, Christopher Lee? Was it B, Michael Ripper? Or was it C, Peter Cushing? Question 8. This is a two-part question. Part A coming up now. What was the name of Troughton's character in the film? Was it A, Cleve? Was it B, Clove? Or was it C, Clive? Right, moving on to question 8, the second part. Which film did Troughton appear with Christopher Lee in another film, another Hammer horror film? In other words, what was the last Hammer horror film they acted together? Was it A, The Hound of the Baskervilles? Was it B, The Devil Ship Pirates? Or was it C, The Gorgon? Question 9. Which of the actors in this film went on to appear as a regular in the Benny Hill Show? You remember him? Yeah, that's right. Was it A, Frank McGee? Was it B, Bob Todd? Or was it C, Nicholas Parsons? Right, question 10. How was Dracula resurrected? I'll repeat that again. I think I need a bit of water here. That's better. How was Dracula resurrected? How did he come back to life? Was it A, a wooden stake is removed from Dracula's remains? Was it B, sorry, I have to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to restate this question again. Right, I'll go again with question 10. What a cock-up that was. Right, question 10. How was Dracula resurrected? Was it A, a wooden stake is removed from Dracula's remains? Was it B, a bat regurgitates blood onto Dracula's remains? Or was it C, a ceremony was performed over his remains by using the blood of a victim? Question 11. Michael Gwynn, who played a priest in the film, also appeared in another Hammer horror film. What was that film called? Was it A, Curse of the Werewolf? Was it B, Horror of Dracula? Or was it C, The Revenge of Frankenstein? A good cough, another sip of water coming up. Question 12. After setting light to the castle, the villagers returned to their village and discovered what? I'll repeat that one again. After setting light to the castle, the villagers returned to their village and discovered what? A, their loved ones had been slaughtered by bats in the church. B, their village had been razed to the ground in revenge. Or C, they were attacked by bats and eventually slaughtered. Question 13, unlucky for some. Why did the character Paul have to flee Kleinenberg? Why did the character Paul have to flee Kleinenberg? Was it A, he hadn't paid his bar bill, which is a lot of us? Was it B, caught in bed with the burgomaster's daughter? Or was it C, he was accused of rape? Question 14. In what method did Paul arrive at Dracula's castle? In other words, in which way did he arrive? In what suitable accompaniment, if you understand what I mean? What vehicle? Was it A, by a carriage he fell asleep in? Was it B, by a carriage which was horseless? Or was it C, by a helicopter? Would look out of place, wouldn't it? Question 15. Who greeted Paul at the entrance of the castle? I repeat, who greeted Paul at the entrance of the castle? Was it A, Dracula? Was it B, Tanya? Or was it C, Clove? Right, moving on swiftly to question 16. When Paul never returned, who went to look for him? When Paul never returned, who went to look for him? Was it A, John and Mary? Was it B, Simon and Sarah? Or was it C, Sid and Myrtle? I think you know the answer to that. Right, question 17. When the couple arrived at Dracula's castle, how many bats attacked them? Was it A, 1? Was it B, 2? Or was it C, 3? Question 18. How did they escape Dracula's castle? How did they escape Dracula's castle? That's the couple, that is. Was it A, by using a crucifix on Dracula? Was it B, they were helped by Dracula's servant? Or was it C, a secret passageway leading out of the castle? Right, question 19. When the brother, looking for his brother, you know, the one that's disappeared, returned to the castle, where did he find his brother and what had become of him? When the brother returned to the castle looking for his brother, sorry about that pronoun, I repeat myself with that one, but it's the brother looking for the brother, you know. That's Paul, who disappeared, never came back, and his brother is looking for him. He left the young lady in question with the priest back at the church. So when the brother went looking for his brother, and when he arrived at the castle, where did he find him and what had become of him? Was it A, he was in a coffin and had been turned into a vampire? Was it B, he was in Dracula's lair and impaled on a spike against the wall? Or was it C, he was found on the floor and drained of blood? Right, we've finally reached this fiasco of a quiz today. We're at question 20. How was Dracula defeated in the end? How was Dracula defeated in the end? Was it A, he is engulfed by flames when struck by lightning? Was it B, he fell into a bath of water? Or C, he was tricked into walking into the sunlight when he was chasing that brother out? I can't tell you the name yet until I've revealed the answers, so it's the brother as far as you're concerned. Right, that is that. We've reached halfway, and now it's time to read those questions again with the answers. So are you ready? Question 1. A nice easy one, as I said before. What year was the film released in? What year was the film released in? Was it A, 1969? Was it B, 1970? Or was it C, 1971? The answer is B, 1970. Question 2. Who directed the film? Was it A, Terence Fisher? Was it B, Roy Wood Baker? Or was it C, Anthony Nelson Keys? The answer is B, Roy Wood Baker. Right, question 3. In the film, Dennis Waterman appeared with another actor who also appeared with him in an episode of Minder, which was called High Drains Pilferer. What was the name of that actor called? This was the Mickey the Fish episode in Minder. Remember, a cat burglar steals his girlfriend's jewels and he puts a bounty on his head. And unfortunately, Terry, being his mate or ex-con, sharing the same prison cell, was also sort of implicated into being involved because he was his mate. So anyway, so at least you know the episode. Was it A, Patrick Troughton? Was it B, Michael Ripper? Or was it C, Christopher Matthews? The answer is C, Christopher Matthews. Because Patrick Troughton, even though he did appear in Minder, he was in an episode called Windows. And the other actor, Michael Ripper, who's a regular in Hammer films, as you know, was in an episode called The Balance of Power. That's when Arthur Daly's bid for power to be a councillor. I think you know that. If you're a Minder fan, you'll know the episode. Right, so the answer was Christopher Matthews. He appeared with Dennis Waterman 13 years later, I believe, in 1983, I think that's when it was released, in an episode called High Drains Pilferer, where he played the cat burglar. So he's not brothers here, he's just his best mate. So it just shows you how acting diversifies as they do the roles. 1 minute you're your brother, the next minute is your son, he's your dad, you know, Godfather. Goes on, doesn't it? All these acting roles. Right, here we go then. Question four we're on. When the film was released, it was as a double feature, right? But what was the other film that sort of joined with it when it was released? It was sort of a double bill. Was it A, The Vampire Lovers? Was it B, The Horror of Frankenstein? Or was it C, The Hands of the Ripper? Well, I can tell you what it isn't. It isn't C, The Hands of the Ripper, because that wasn't released until a year later in 1971. And it wasn't The Vampire Lovers, that's A out, because it was part of the Michaela, is it Michaela? Yeah, the Michaela franchise, you know, the Twins of Evil and Lost for a Vampire. So that was part of that franchise of Hammer. But the one that went with it, I can see why they did it, because it's Dracula and Frankenstein, was The Horror of Frankenstein. This is where David Prowse, you know, the one that played Darth Vader in 1977 Star Wars, was the monster in this. So he's easily recognised. He's not got that traditional square head Universal used to give Boris Karloff, but that's the one. It's called B, The Horror Frankenstein. It was actually released to coincide as a double bill with, so it supported this film, because this was their main film, their main sort of, you could say, backing the horse. This is the one they were backing, so it was sort of built into it to give it a bit of support. So it was a double bill. So it was B, The Horror of Frankenstein. Right, moving on to question 5. When this film was made, how many Dracula films for Hammer had been made so far, including this one? In other words, how many Dracula films? This was probably what? The number either 5A, was it B, 7 times, or was it C, 9 times? When I say times, I mean this was the 5th film, or the 7th film, or the 9th film. And I'll explain why in a second. I'll give you the answer now. The answer is B, 7, because you had The Horror of Dracula in 1958. Then we moved on to The Brides of Dracula in 1960, minus Christopher Lee. Then we moved on to The Kiss of the Vampire in 1963, minus Cushing and minus Christopher Lee. And then we moved on to Hammer in 1966 with Dracula the Prince of Darkness, which was minus Peter Cushing but included Christopher Lee after an 8-year wait. And then we moved on to the other one, which was Dracula's Risen from the Grave in 1968. Then we had 2 of these films, funny enough. Taste the Blood of Dracula was released in 1970, along with the film that we are doing the quiz about today, the Scars of Dracula. So it's 7 so far until the others are made, which would have been Dracula AD 1972 would have been the next one to make it 8. Right, so there's the answer, B, 7. Right, question 6. Which actress who appeared in the film went on to appear as a presenter for ITV's children's show called Magpie? You remember that programme? It used to sort of rival the other BBC One. I think it was Blue Peter. You had Blue Peter on BBC One and you had Magpie on ITV. It's basically the same sort of theme, you know, of showing you how to make this documentary show, you know, like interviews and stuff. Anyway, you know what I mean. That's what Magpie was. It was the rival to Blue Peter. Anyway, the answer for that is Jenny Hanley, who's also in this film, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made the question up. Jenny Hanley comes from a famous family. Her dad, Jimmy, died very young. He was a great comedic actor. And then you had... I think her mother was called Dina Sheridan. She was a brilliant actress, one of the old school. And her brother, Jeremy Hanley was, I think, was a former Conservative chairman in the 80s or something, when Margaret Thatcher was around. Jeremy Hanley. So they've got quite a big, shall I say, a big reach, you could say, not just in acting but in politics as well. So there's their legacy. But Jenny actually became a TV presenter for ITV's children's programme called Magpie. She took over from Susan Stranks. Remember Susan Stranks? She was the original. And then there was a guy called Mick Robinson who joined in later on. But Jenny Hanley took over from Susan Stranks. So there you have it. So the answer is B, Jenny Hanley. Question 7. Which actor contributed to the Hammer films more than any other actor did? Was it A, Christopher Lee? Was it B, Michael Ripper? Or was it C, Peter Cushing? Now I can see why your reasoning would say Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing, but you're wrong, because Michael Ripper appeared in it more times than ever, because you've got to remember there was a there was a film called Devil Island, or Return to Blood, that's it, Blood Island. That was also made by Hammer. Remember they had a couple in the 50s, the Quatermass experiment, and then also they did what was it, that was 1955, and then you had one in 1956 called X the Unknown, and Michael Ripper was in that as well. So there you have it. So Michael Ripper has been the biggest contributor as an actor to Hammer horror films. But believe it or not, Hammer did not start off as a horror film distributor. It didn't start off making horror films. It started off as epics and stuff like that, you know, like police stories and stuff like that. You know, it was more action and, you know, the old 1940s, because it goes back as far as that, 1940s Hammer. But they went into horror in the 1950s. That's when they changed their format and changed their direction. So anyway, there you have it. But Michael Ripper has been around a long time, I can assure you. Sadly, he passed away in 2000, so it was a big loss for everyone concerned. Great actor, great guy, brilliant, brilliant projectionist on the screen. He'd always be more convincing. He played bit parts, but I won't go into that because that's for another time. But anyway, the answer is B, Michael Ripper. Question 8. This is a two-part question. This is the first part, part A. What was the name of Troughton's character in the film? A bit of an easy one, I think. Start question 8 off in two parts. Was it A, Cleve, was it B, Clove, or was it C, Clive? Well, I presume it would be B, Clove. I don't think Clive would cut the ice with hammer, would it, with a name like that? Cleve could have done, because it reminds them of a cleaving, you know. But never mind. Forget I said that or done that. Right, so the answer is Clove. Clove. It was the same character's name in Dracula Prince of Darkness, which was played by Philip Latham then. So anyway, there you have it. The answer is B, Clove. Right, moving on to question 8, part B. Which film did Troughton appear with Christopher Lee? It was in another Hammer horror film, the only one they did together. Which one was it? Was it A, The Hound of the Baskervilles? Was it B, The Devil Ship Pirates? Or was it C, The Gorgon? The answer is The Gorgon, because in 1964 this was released. This was with Barbara Shelley. She was actually the Gorgon, as you know. Christopher Lee was the good guy in this one. He played a professor, I forgot his name. Peter Cushing was in this, so he had the usual lot of players in, you know, for Hammer. It had the usual actors in it, you know, because they were obviously contracted to turn up for these films. Apart from Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, of course, they were the only two that didn't have contracts. Believe it or not, funny that, isn't it? But yeah, true. They didn't have any contracts, so they. But this is true. They used to spin them a line. You know, when Christopher Lee refused to do it, he would. I think it was Michael Carreras, the guy that was running it at the time. He tried to sort of use a bit of blackmail on, say, look, Lee, if you don't do it, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, because everything's riding on you, and he used to put it on thick and thin and stuff. But it was unfair because Christopher Lee wasn't contracted to them, but he was the reason why they were doing so well with it, and so was Peter Cushing. But anyway, there's a bit of information for you. Right, which film was it? It was called The Gorgons Sea. Patrick Troughton and Christopher Lee appeared together in that. With Christopher Lee, as I said, was playing the professor, a good guy, and of course Patrick Troughton was playing the chief of police. So it was a great. I thought it was a good film. It stood up very well as Hammer films go, and it was made in 1964. So give it a look in. You really will have your time invested well here. So Patrick Troughton, just before he became the Doctor, remember that. Right, okay then. We're moving on to question 9. Oh yeah, give yourself 4 points if you got both of them right. It's because you double the points on the 2-point question. Right, okay, question 9. Which of the actors in the film went on to appear as a regular in the Benny Hill show? Was it A, Frank McGee? Was it B, Bob Todd? Or was it C, Nicholas Parsons? The answer is Bob Todd. Bob was not the one that was always getting slapped on the back of the head, but he was bald, but he's well familiar on many walking comedy sketches. You see, he's been in quite a few sitcoms. Frank McGee was also in Benny Hill, but he wasn't in this film, nor was Nicholas Parsons, but he was also in Benny Hill in the early days, in the early 70s, before he did Sale of the Century. Right, of course, come and see your prizes, crappy prizes, a record by Perry Como and a cheap sort of record player looking thing. You never seen one like it in your life. It was terrible, and I think it was about £1.50. I think they were playing for. I forgot how Sell the Century worked, but I'm sure they got 5 points for each question, no, it's for cash. Sorry. It was -£5 or +£5, and unfortunately some of them weren't that very bright, and they didn't even get onto the first level, the quiz competition stuff where they got this beautiful girl, the au pair comes out and sort of stands by them with her fur coat and everything, doing all this with her arms and stuff. Yeah, the one, Sell the Century. Nicholas Parsons was this smooth compare, But anyway, that's the slogan. It's the quiz from Norwich. It's the quiz of the week. Yeah, that's the one. Right, anyway, moving on. I mean, I went on a little bit too long there. But anyway, moving on to question. Well, the answer was Bob Todd, all right. I got carried away. I was telling you the reasons for why Nicholas Parsons and Frank McGee was in Benny Hill but not in the film. Right, okay then. Question 10. How was Dracula resurrected? How did he return into the film? Was it A wooden stake is removed from Dracula's remains? Was it B, a bat regurgitates blood onto Dracula's remains? Or was it C, a ceremony was performed over his remains by using the blood of a victim? The answer is B, a bat regurgitates blood onto Dracula's remains. Basically, I have no idea why they decided to have Dracula in that situation. It made no explanation for it, because if you watch the film before, he actually, in the Taste of Blood of Dracula, that's right, he falls from the altar or something, the altar balcony he was on, and the glass breaks and the whole place is like, I don't know what's the word. It doesn't matter about the word. Who cares about the bloody word, right? But what I'm saying is he dies in a church that's been blessed or something like that, and he turns into this powdery red stuff again, with his cloak and whatever. And I have no idea how he got into from there to there. That's what I'm trying to say. It just doesn't make sense. But that's Hammer for you. They don't need to give an explanation. Just they make sure it fits in the actual dialogue. And the same with the character. They wrote the story first, and then they added Christopher Lee, as you know, wheeled Christopher Lee into the story. You know, it should have been the story working around him. But never mind. What do I know? You know what I mean? But that is a sort of strange start. Usually, I thought where they die is where they begin again. But never mind. Okay, then that was question 10. It was a bat regurgitates blood onto Dracula's remains. Okay, moving on to question 11. Michael Gwynn, who played a priest in the film, has also appeared in another Hammer horror film. What was that film? Was it A Curse of the Werewolf? Was it B, A Horror of Dracula? Or was it C, The Revenge of Frankenstein? It was C, The Revenge of Frankenstein. He took over from Christopher Lee, appeared in the first one called The Curse of Frankenstein. So he was in the second one. And this is where... but Peter Cushing returned as Baron Frankenstein. And people used to get confused thinking Frankenstein was actually the monster. No, it was actually the actual doctor that put the actual monster together. So it's the monster, it's Frankenstein's monster. But anyway, he played the monster, Michael Gwynn, and he's been in a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to go through that now because I'm running out of a bit of time here, so I need to move on swiftly. And I'm sure you need to get to bed quickly as well, so I don't want to keep you up as long as I have to. So anyway, here we go. But that was Michael Gwynn. He had appeared in the Revenge of Frankenstein, the sort of sequel to The Curse of Frankenstein. Okay then, question 12. I think, yeah, question 12. After setting light to the castle, the villagers returned to their village and discovered what? Was it A, their loved ones had been slaughtered by bats in the church? Was it B, their village had been razed to the ground in revenge? Or was it C, they were attacked by bats and eventually slaughtered? The answer was A, their loved ones had been slaughtered by bats in the church. Okay, moving on to question 13. Why did the character, Paul, have to flee Kleinenberg? Was it A, he hadn't paid his bar bill? I think that happens to a lot of us when we don't pay up. We tend to sort of find a way out some way, like just leave the situation. Was it B, caught in bed with the burgomaster's daughter? Naughty, naughty. Or was it C, he was accused of rape? He was accused of rape, but the situation is, that's C. The answer is C. He was accused of rape by the burgomaster's daughter, who he was in bed with, but when he arrives, the burgomaster, he's already clothed, dressed, and ready to leave, and the burgomaster bursts in through the front door and catches them both, where she's half naked with a towel around her. So you've got to see the film to know what I mean. But anyway, he was accused of rape. She accused of rape because she wanted him to stay and he didn't want to. He had to go to a party to see his brother and the girl, Sarah. Oops, I gave one away there. Shouldn't have told you her name yet, but it doesn't matter. It's only for fun, this anyway. Right, let's move on quickly before I run out of ideas to carry on. Right, here we go. Question 14. In what method did Paul arrive at Dracula's castle? In other words, how did he travel there? Was it A, by a carriage he fell asleep in? Was it B, by a carriage which was horseless? In other words, he got in, looked around, saw no horses there, and then suddenly, like in The Prince of Dracula, they get into the horseless carriage, and it has a mind of its own. Well, the horses are being sort of drawn to the castle, and that's exactly what happened there. Or was it C, by helicopter? Well, I don't think Hammer could spread to the budget of a helicopter, do you? So the answer is, he fell asleep in the carriage. So it's A. By a carriage he fell asleep in. So he got there by a carriage, but he fell asleep in it at first, then woke up. When he woke up, you usually find it all stops and he's arrived, even though it's about 5 miles down the road, But that's what they do with films, they have to cram it all in. Right, question 15. Who greeted Paul at the entrance of the castle? Was it A, Dracula? Was it B, Tanya? Or was it C, Clove? It wasn't Dracula. It wasn't A. Wasn't C, Clove, but it was certainly Tanya. It was a beautiful woman, if you recall. Tanya. So, how are you doing so far as we come towards the last stages of this quiz? Right, question 16. When Paul never returned, who went looking for him? Was it A, John and Mary? Was it B, Simon and Sarah? Or was it C, Sid and Myrtle? I don't think the names Sid and Myrtle would have carried much ice with Hammer, so that one was out. I just threw that one in for a joke, actually. But the answer is B, Simon and Sarah, played by, respectively, Dennis Waterman and Jenny Hanley. Right, question 17. When Simon and Sarah arrived at I can say Simon and Sarah now because you know the answers, but I couldn't say that. I just said when the couple, so I'm changing that now to Simon and Sarah. When Simon and Sarah arrived at Dracula's castle, how many bats attacked them? In other words, when they arrived, as soon as they got there, a bat or bats started to come at them to entice them to go into the entrance hall of Dracula's castle so they could get away. But that is basically it. So, how many were there? Was it A, 1? Was it B, 2? Or was it C, 3? The answer is A, 1. It's probably because Hammer couldn't stretch the budget anymore. Right, question 18. So that was A, 1. So question 18. How did they escape Dracula's castle? When, towards when Dracula greeted them and everything, and then they were ready to go to sleep and everything, and then somebody saved them, or they helped themselves. But Dracula, obviously, when he offers you a glass of wine, you don't take it because you know he's drugged it. So his obvious intentions was to get his hands on Sarah, as his new bride. You never know. But that's basically it. Question 18. How did they escape Dracula's castle? Was it A, by using a crucifix on Dracula? Was it B, they were helped by Dracula's servant, Clove? That's why I didn't want to say nothing, because now you know why. And C, secret passage that led out of the castle. Well, the answer is B. They were helped by Dracula's servant, Clove. That's why, as you can see, I didn't want to say why. I didn't want to say Clove helped them until we got to that question, because I was explaining myself with that one. But never mind. Stop this gibberish. Let's get on with it. Yeah. Right. So the answer is B. They were helped by Dracula's servant, Clove. Right. Question 19. We're coming to the end of this shenanigans. Right, here we go. When Simon returned to the castle looking for his brother, where did he find him and what had become of him? Was it A, he was in a coffin and had been turned into a vampire? Was it B, he was in Dracula's lair and impaled on a spike against the wall? Or was it C, he was found on the floor and drained of blood? The answer is B, he was in Dracula's lair and impaled on a spike against the wall. Right, we're moving on to the final question. How was Dracula defeated in the end? Well, it could be this reason. He got engulfed by flames when struck by lightning, when he was holding that spear, when the lightning held it. When he was holding that spike, ready to chop back at Simon, who threw it first, as he put it in the air, the lightning struck and it turned the sort of spike red hot, and there he caught light. So that's what that means. Was that the reason he was engulfed by flames when struck by lightning? Was it B, he fell into a bath of water? Or was it C, he was struck, or should I say he was tricked into walking into sunlight when chasing Simon? No, obviously, I've just explained the answer to you. It was A. He was engulfed by flames when struck by lightning while holding this spike, this metal long spike, ready to chuck back at Simon. Well, probably to impale him. I don't think he was just going to throw it at him. I think he had accuracy as well. Could be the living dead. They've got powers, haven't they? So obviously he's strong as well. So anyway, that is that. The answer, as you know, he is engulfed by flames when struck by lightning. So there you have it. That's it. We're out of here. All it remains to me to say is, right, that's it from the quiz for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back at the same time tomorrow night at 9 p.m. when it will be the turn of Doctor Who quiz featuring the Daleks' invasion of Earth. So until then, it's good night from me, Lee Anthony Davis. I'll see you tomorrow night, and good night.